Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for everyone giving your precious time in this lockdown. I know time is valuable at this stage, and we're all so busy. But yes. So, without introduction, I'd like to welcome Jack. Thank you very much for joining. Sibu, thanks very much for giving us your time, brother. Really appreciate it. Francois.
Yep.
Thanks very much for your time, brother. And then the man of the hour, Albert. Welcome, brother.
What's up?
Thank you all for giving us your time. But first and foremost, for those watching that don't know what this video is going to be about, obviously we're going to be addressing a post that Albert made on his social media where he kind of reversed the roles a little bit. Generally, you would make a post and people would give their opinions in terms of who motivates and inspires them the most. Well, this time Albert reversed the roles and he made a questionnaire where basically people could write in on his Instagram story where he asked, who do people dislike the most? And I don't know about you guys, but I think it got a lot more traction than a motivational post ever did. Things kind of blew up. So I'm going to let you take it from here and tell us a little bit about what made you think of doing this, and then I'm very keen to get everyone's opinion on the topic as well.
Okay, so I was sitting at home, obviously during lockdown, things get boring, and I just decided, while I was scrolling through Instagram, I was like, yes, this is actually like so boring. We only see like motivational posts, like nothing exciting is happening. Like obviously you can go read Jack and Frenchie's posts on Facebook. That's actually like the most exciting thing that's happening at the moment. So I was like, people are always like asking their followers who's the biggest inspiration in the fitness industry, like who inspires them. And I was like, okay, let's like reverse the roles. Let's find out which person in the fitness industry do people actually dislike.
It's called blackmail.
And why?
Yeah.
I've been mentioned as well. Like, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Like, everyone can't like it. And as soon as I started posting the replies, which, like, everyone enjoyed it, but the people got so offended. But 95% of my comments or messages that I received was positive. Like, people actually enjoyed doing it. And a lot of the people who got mentioned actually took it for what it is, and it took it in good spirits and laughed it off, which they were supposed to.
So there was definitely some positivity that came from it.
Yeah, I mean, take it for what it is, like good, bad criticism, it's exposure. That's why we're all on Instagram. People gained followers from it, but then some of them reacted the way they did and didn't take it up in the right mindset or whatever. And I posted the replies and stuff, and it actually just blew up. And the traction I got from that post, I've never gotten from any other motivational post that I've posted before.
And how ironic is that? Like, in a place where it's meant to be uplifting and everyone's pushing positivity and trying to be bastions of the fucking industry, the post around hate, or not really hate, but people voicing their opinions, gets the most fucking attention.
Yeah, that's so true, and it's actually scary because people enjoy the drama. And thinking about it, like, who like lifted me up when I started my fitness career? Like, no one was babying me. Oh, Albert, you got to do this, you got to do that, lifting me up, giving me like positive vibes. Like, I had to do all this shit myself. Like, fuck off, like, completely. Like, if you want people to lift you up, go fuck yourself.
So a topic I wanted to start off with first was cyberbullying, and I want to get everyone's opinion on this because you're being labelled now by some morons, being basically told that you're a cyberbully now. This is bullying. So I want to start with Jack. Jack, I want to get your views on this, and I think then we're going to pass the mic over to Sibs and to French, and then we'll end with you, Albert. I'll have my say as well. But what a crock of shit, Jack.
Yeah, look, good evening, guys. I think whether you agree or you disagree with Albert is completely immaterial. I think looking at the social experiment and looking at how people reacted, both positively and negatively, basically just reveals, or rather removes, the fake veiled facade of pseudo altruism in the industry and showed everyone for who they really are. And the bottom line is that you use the term cyberbullying, Carl, which I thought was very amusing, and I'll touch more in depth at a later stage. But you've got people who are putting themselves in the public forum in a certain way, and it's entirely narcissistic to presume that every single person, A, has to share your view, and every single person, B, has to like you. So, there's a lot that I want to touch on. I mean, obviously, you've gone straight through to cyberbullying and things like that. But again, just to reiterate what I said at the beginning, I think it was an incredible social experiment. And what was interesting is that I was basically just completely amused at the replies, the butthurt, and the resentment aimed at Albert, and how people reacted to it. Let's just make it clear, I was the first person to be nominated in that.
Yeah.
I was nominated multiple times.
Yeah.
People need to remember that I was also called out in that poll, and I think it would be naive to think that people in the industry don't loathe me. I know many people do, and in fact, I hope many people do, because I've taken exception with many people myself. So I didn't call anyone out. I just felt that the reactions were completely unwarranted and basically just drove the point home even further. So my posts were aimed at the people's reactions. I didn't name one single person.
Yeah.
I didn't take exception with one single person. And despite that, I was receiving tons of messages in my DM from people spewing hate at me, people tagging me in their stories, taking exception with me, and not once did I even infer that anything that I was talking about was aimed at any specific person. It was aimed at an entire menagerie of pseudo-altruistic, fake, pretentious, lying, charlatan pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And as I always say, if that clown shoe fits, lace that motherfucker up all the way to your little circus. So, I've got a lot of talking points here that I want to discuss, and I can go off all day. I mean, we could just move to Frenchie now. Frenchie can tell us what he thinks.
Out of God with a mouthful of chips there. Yeah, look. I saw the post and I thought it was funny. At first, I was like, oh, wow, okay. I guess I'm going to get mentioned as arrogant or a loudmouth, etc. And I wasn't. I was almost worried, then disappointed afterwards. When I saw the comments, and the people are just so fragile is the issue. Is that as you can see, people obviously, they have these social media personas, which are not a real reflection of who they are in the real world. And they're obviously, I don't want to say pieces of shit, because that's too hard. I just want to say that these are not genuine people. Okay, so they all morph their images probably. They have this unrealistic social media presence. And in real life, they are not these people. So they experience life through their social media, through their likes, and through the comments of their friends, queenness, etc. So as soon as you attack that, and you chip away at that, people take it too personally, because that's how they experience themselves. They don't have, it's the difference between reputation and character. Okay?
Sure.
Reputation is what people say about you. Character is who you know you are as a person. You can talk as much shit about me as you want in your personal capacity. People do. A lot of people do like me. A lot of people dislike me. And I don't even bother correcting people. I heard this shit story about you. Great. What did I do next? I'm quite a notorious guy, I'll have you know. I've heard that I'm a street fighter. I brawl every weekend. I fuck chicks all the time. These are the rumors that are going around. But I mean, if you're stable enough as a person, you should be able to take a little bit of critique. And these people were not able to. And now, of course, we live in a time where everybody knows big words. Defamation, harassment, bullying, cyberbullying. It's not just you were opposed to me or you swore at me. Everybody goes to the most intensive, the strongest version of that. Nobody feels things like, I think you were a cunt. You should stop that. Everybody feels it in the most extreme sense.
100%.
Albert said these things about he's fucking cyberbullying.
Elaborate
Yeah.
on that, because this was a cool point in which Jack raised yesterday, whereas everyone who had been bullied, Jack asked to raise their hand. Every single one of us has experienced that. And I think this is...
Not yesterday. We weren't bullied yesterday.
Yes.
People called us out. People called me out. People called Sibu out in Albert's poll. Just to reiterate on that point, we weren't saying we were bullied yesterday.
Yes.
We have no issue taking exception. But in life, historically,
correct.
At the inception of our fitness journey.
And that's where I wanted to tap on with Francois, because he's discussing that point, is where you said as well that, I mean, give us a little rundown of what bullying is really like you mentioned yesterday, that experience you had. And I'm trying to make a point here, whereas with what you're saying, people are taking exception to a post on Instagram by being told that, oh, you're morphing your pictures, or you have this point of view. Everyone has their own fucking point of view, and now they're being told that they're being bullied, whereas they don't even know what being fucking bullied is about or what it means.
Yeah, bullying is it needs to happen over a period. I made a post about it. But if somebody walks up to you and they punch you in the face, you didn't get bullied, you got fucked up. Okay? So bullying happens over a long period of time. Somebody takes exception with you as a person and begins a process of breaking you down every day. Eventually, the bullying is initially physical contact, but even meeting that person, you start to develop that fear, that anxiety, because you know the bullying is coming, because that's what it's been. Most of us said that. You go to school, you know, you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to go through this corridor, that matric pupil is there, and he always bullies you when I come past, and it's a long process. Somebody says some shit about you on social media as a one-off that you don't know personally, you are not bullied. You were spoken to in a way you're not used to. It's not gonna fucking kill you. Yeah. All the people that said, oh my God, what if somebody takes their life as a result of that? Well, chances are that might be the straw that breaks the camel back. But I mean, ultimately, you have other triggers that might lead, that will have led you there. Nobody is as, let me not say that. People should be a bit stronger than that. It's just fucking social media.
But the worst part about it is 90% of the things that were mentioned were the fucking truth. Like, you get people busy getting called out for being a scammer. You're being told that you're morphing your images. You know, like, what the fuck?
I think I've said a lot. Let's let somebody else say something. Otherwise, I'm going to talk myself into a...
Sibs?
Evening, gents. I hadn't greeted you guys, so evening, gents. Thanks for the platform. It's really, really great. First and foremost, before we go even further, I just want to personally say, Albert, you are my MVP, my guy. So, round of applause for stellar work that you did yesterday, my guy. You are literally my MVP. You in my books have won 2020. It's done. It's over, and brilliant. So, what's very important here to pinpoint, Carl, I'm going to just touch on the points you just touched on and elaborate it slightly further, is when I saw this, because I was nominated, okay, and once, which was very disappointing, because I've got a lot of things I've heard about myself that I thought were going to come up again, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, come on, guys, just one post, that's what I'm worth, and you're going to pick arrogance out of everything? Come on. So what's important to understand here, Carl, and that's why I'm actually on this panel, and that's why I'm strongly for discussing this thing, is most of the mentions that were made there, as Carl just mentioned, they were not wrong. You know, like, I saw people's slides, and I'm like, yes, like, whoever mentioned the fact that you're a coach that sells other people's coaches' diets, they're right.
Yes.
The fact that you morph the pictures to look a certain way, they're right. The fact that you don't know your elbow from your knee and you're telling girls on how to diet because you endorse a supplement brand and all of a sudden they named you a life coach, they're right.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, the issue of contention here is the fact that someone actually called you out on bullshit that is actually true. And now you're taking exceptions to the fact that someone has called you out on that thing and now all of a sudden your feelings are touched. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like when I was called arrogance, I'm sitting back, I'm like, oh, well, I know my character, let's all laugh about it. And I actually made the post. I even tagged Albert. I'm like, what he's doing is fantastic, you know? So I think for me, just as a starting talking point, is understanding that most of the stuff that was, I mean, people were trolling. Some people were just writing stuff just for shits and giggles, right?
Yeah.
But I could say 90% of what was written there is absolutely true. And it's absolutely imperative that a platform like Albert's raised yesterday is raised in the fitness industry in order to suss out these people that are actually taking shit on the fitness industry. It's exhausting being in an industry that we are, all of you gentlemen are inspiring. All of you gentlemen uplift certain people. You have clients that you guys are not just coaches to, but life coaches, therapists to, you know, sounding boards to. I know Jack has CEOs that come to him, and literally before they make a big decision, they talk to Jack. So you guys in your personal capacity are very motivational. But at the same time, because you guys have put in that much energy in the industry, it then taints the industry when someone who's going to come into the industry and the only credential they have is what? Winning a show that no one cares about, and all of a sudden they're a self-proclaimed coach.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Telling people on how to diet and train, and now because someone is calling you out and the fact that you're doing bullshit in the industry, now all of a sudden you're touched and Albert is a bully. Give me a break.
For sure, dude. And I mean, like you said, like you mentioned, I think no matter what you do, especially on social media, it's a platform for people to engage. There's a comment section for a reason. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And, you know, if you're going to put yourself out there, then you must also, you know, take what comes your way with regards to negative and positive comments. But, yeah, another point that I wanted to touch on there that you mentioned as well is that regardless whether you do something right or wrong, you're going to get hate. But for these people who are posting fucking pictures of themselves, morphing the images, or where people were called out for stealing coaches' diets and selling them as their own, like, how can you get upset with that when people are calling you out for that and then you get your back up against the wall? It makes zero sense.
Because you lose money, that's why.
Albert?
Most of the people actually got upset by just being mentioned. There's no reasons attached to the name.
Yeah, some of them you posted just the picture.
Like, why is this why are they like random people who don't like me and they're not giving me a reason why they don't like me, and that actually upset them so much, which I understand. It's understandable. Like, just don't message me about it. Be upset with your friends and family. There's a lot of things that upset me in life, and I don't go fucking messaging random people about it. You know, in actual fact, like, I just did it for the joke of it. And most people took it for what it is. It was a joke. And it was funny. And all the replies I got, like, people enjoyed it. Because you got to laugh it off. Like you said, everyone's got haters. You got to take it for what it is. And some people can't seem to do that.
No, for sure. And Jack, I want to go back to you. You said you had a few talking points. What are some of the topics you wanted to discuss? And then I think it'll be cool to get everyone's opinion.
Look, evaluating the psychology of this thing is so imperative. And I don't necessarily, what people don't understand is that Albert and I are not, I mean, we're on an amicable basis, but we're not the best of friends. We didn't conspire to put this thing together. He put it out. He's a social media provocateur. It created a lot of traction. A lot of people were getting involved. And I couldn't help but love the fact that people's responses were exposing them for who they really were. You had some people that were, like Veronique, for example. I don't know her. I've never followed her on social media, but she had such a great response to it and used that as an opportunity to generate positivity and upliftment amongst her followers and make some really inspiring and some motivational posts. And that, for me, is the exception. It's not the rule. You know, the interesting take home for that is that everyone's saying, oh, you know, the fitness industry is about positivity and it's about motivation. Albert proved yesterday that no, it's not. Because 100%. If it was, Albert cut down in 5 seconds, he would not have received the amount of popularity that he did. It wouldn't have gone viral. His Instagram wouldn't have crashed. His phone wouldn't have crashed. People wouldn't be going off as much as possible, because the fitness industry is anything but. It's fake. It's the pseudo kindness. It's the pseudo inspiration, the pseudo motivation. Someone's posting about positivity and upliftment, and this is my inspiration. Meanwhile, they all secretly loathe one another. They can't stand that this person has more success than this person, and this person's a piece of shit. And what I also love is, like, I'm of the opinion that someone mustn't say something on social media that they're not prepared to say to someone's face. And it's not because
For sure.
I'm a groot man and you must come and say that to my face. It's because it's about your integrity. Have the decency to treat someone the way that you talk about them behind their back. Because, and as soon as people have an opportunity to hide behind anonymity, then all of a sudden his phone crashes. And that just reiterates a big problem that we have in the fitness industry.
100%.
And, when I'm sitting here and I say, there are a lot of talking points that Malema has, for example, and I'm using him as an analogy and for comparative purposes. Julius Malema will say some things that I really agree with. That doesn't mean that I vote EFF. It doesn't mean that I go and I'm a big proponent of the white genocide agenda. It doesn't mean that I'm anti-white. It doesn't mean that I even like him. It means that it means that I like certain things that he has said, and when he takes exception with certain ANC people who I despise, I'll doff my hat at him and I'll say, congratulations. And it's exactly the same thing with Albert. Albert and I are not particularly close by any means. He himself said yesterday in our original assertions that he sometimes gets he originally got offended by some stuff that Francois and I indirectly wrote a while back. That's part and parcel of what it was. But you've got people who are hiding behind anonymity, and the fact that there was such a big response is indicative of the fact that there is such a big underlying problem in the industry. People don't like one another. People despise one another. People are not honest. People are not truthful. That's number one. Number two, you've got people that are being called out for genuinely dishonest, disingenuous, and disloyal behavior. And those people need to be named and shamed. That's not bullying. If I go somewhere, I go for a restaurant. Okay, I go to a restaurant this evening, and I watch the chef park a loogie and spit it into my food. When I go on to Hello Peter that evening and I'm busy talking about that restaurateur, that eatery, and I'm like, this person did this, it's unacceptable, he spat in my food. That's not bullying. That's taking exception with someone who's supposed to deliver services in our industry.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility as professionals and bastions of the fitness industry to out disingenuousness and dishonesty and disloyalty as and when it occurs. And I would far rather choose being real and being honest and being transparent over being nice every motherfucking day. And that is a standard that anyone can hold me to. People will disagree with me. People might despise me. People will hate me, but they know where I'm coming from. And that's because I know that I don't live in a glass house. I don't pretend to be anything else than what I am. And I despise the pseudo-altruism, the charlatanism in the industry. And you can't, it's something that I said to someone else. You've got people that are conflating these posts of positivity and upliftment, but by their actions, basically demonstrating the complete antithesis of that. You've got people who are like, oh, guys, this is completely unacceptable. A lot of these girls are impressionable and it's bullying. It's like, no, well, it's not bullying when you're taking exception with someone else, and you have done historically multiple times in the industry.
Exactly.
I've watched you do it.
After the fucking post as well.
100%. You take exception, and it's not bullying when you are tagging someone or making references to someone in your posts, and your friends, followers, and fans are denigrating and insulting and attacking that person. That's not bullying. But when they respond to you and they say things that hurt your feelings and hurt your ego and that you don't like, then we all cry cyberbullying.
Fake, disgusting news.
Yeah.
And it's laughable at best.
And
you got to be able to dish what you got to be able to reap what you sow. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so, again, a lot of other talking points, which I'll touch base with during the course of this interview, but it's important to understand that we're associating in such a shallow industry. And again, if we break it down to its core, and I've reiterated this multiple times in quite a few of our podcasts, Kyle, is that we're all brushing shoulders with people who primarily base their sense of self-worth on how they look.
Yeah.
The physicality of it, okay? And how they appear to look on their social media. This fake, these fake Christians, these fake do-gooders, all that sort of stuff. And as soon as that gets targeted, then all of a sudden it's the insecurities all come out and they actually can't stand it. And that was even more evident of the fact of the personal insults I was getting. Again, just to reiterate, I didn't mention anyone. I just thought that the way that people were behaving was very telling of who they were as people and what weak characters they were as people. And I had people insulting me and attacking me, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. It was fantastic. I love rustling feathers and I love the butthurt that I generate from people that I despise. So I had people in my inbox, and the insults that they were giving me were telling unto themselves. The first thing they were saying, "You so ugly. Have you looked in a mirror?" And I was just like, the defense rests.
Yeah.
That your go-to is to attack me on how I look and my external appearance, because that's how you base your sense of self-worth, and that's how shallow you are as an individual.
The same people having their back up against the wall saying that people are being bullied. Makes sense.
Yeah, look.
Some of the shit that was said against you, Jack, was actually quite fucking low.
Yeah, exactly. Francois, the thing is like, again, I've got a very thick skin, and I welcome people are more than welcome to challenge me at every avenue. I try and keep it as intellectual as possible, but obviously a lot of the people I engage with can't reciprocate on my level, and it ends up becoming a complete mudslinging, exchange of ad hominems, and eventually ends up with me being exceptionally patronizing and condescending and them getting butthurt. But when, someone's sitting there and they're trying to bastion themselves as, being so good for the industry and uplifting people and trying to do her very best to be, an inspiration to all these impressionable girls in the industry, that's the same person that has absolutely no issue making a mockery on her personal profile about the fact that my wife and I are struggling with fertility. And What does that say? I mean, that's a reflection of you and your character.
Yeah.
Because she assumed that one of the messages on her profile was from me. I'll tell you to your face that I think you're a cunt, and I'll do that with pleasure. But the severe insecurity, and this person was, we had a whole lot of other posts in the industry, people making vlogs saying we need to stand up against this and we need to bastion against this. And this same individual was going on there and tagging me and it's like, "Oh, you must call this person out." I was like, just get the fuck out of here.
These are the same people saying, "Oh, we must bring the industry together. I can't believe this is so sad." And these are the same fucking people cheating on their husbands.
They are the biggest cheating, bully, whoring bitches I have ever come across in my entire life.
Damn!
And not just that,
and
obviously, I don't think all of us are here basically stating that we're perfect. I think everyone has done something that they're not proud of in their life, or everyone makes mistakes. But fuck, you can't keep throwing stones when you live in a glass house. It blows my mind.
That's exactly it. That's all it's about. If someone wants to dedicate a hate page to me and attack me day in, day out and own it, that's absolutely fine. I just think that it's very laughable that you bastion yourself as this beacon of nobility and integrity in the industry, trying to do good. But then in the next vein, you go for the low-hanging fruit, and to try and hurt me because you know that you can't, you attack my wife and my inability to fall pregnant because you know that'll hurt my wife and that'll hurt me. And that's just a reflection of how sad you are, and that's just it. The bottom line is that like hot air rises in the industry, these people will just continue to be the flatulence of the fitness industry.
Pow.
After all that happened yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago, the way people tried to get back at me is actually so funny. Like, obviously posting like 8 posts and stuff, like they're super upset now I'm a cyberbully, but they actually bullying me after I never even said any of those things. I reposted them.
You just opened the platform up for everyone to voice their opinion.
Exactly. I just shared opinions. Okay. Now they're attacking me, messaging all my sponsors. Every single sponsor that I have, they've messaged, and all my sponsors laugh it off.
Of course they would.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to get me on a personal level, and then they carry on how I affect their careers.
Wow! The land of make-believe!
Then they try and affect my career by doing exactly the same thing that they're trying to stand up against.
So retaliation, that's fucking great.
But that's exactly it. You know, a lot of these circles as well, all of these fitness queens and things like that, you'll notice that they all comment on each other's pictures and posts, and they all, it's you just put your crown back on and you do you. And
Fire girl.
That's the same people commenting on each other's posts because they want to surround themselves in this fake bubble, and as soon as someone else comes in with a differing opinion, they need to crush that person. And I think that's very scary, and it's very indicative of the society that we have in the fitness industry, is that, all of these people have to associate with people that bring them up and say the right things and share their opinions because that's right. I couldn't think of anything worse. There are a lot of people on my Instagram, there are a lot of people on my Facebook who I utterly despise, but I keep them on there because, in the words of Mark Twain, it's differences of opinion that make for good horse races. And if you cannot have your own opinion changed, in the presence of overwhelming evidence and logic and rationale from an abundance of people, that is again a reflection of how weak your character is. It's pathetic.
It's like
my opinion. It's not that I flip-flop from one idea to the other. I think people will say that I'm very consistent in my beliefs and my viewpoints, but the way that my opinion has changed over years, from arguments that I've had with Sibu, from arguments that I've had with Francois, from discussions that I've had with you, and I encourage that. I'm not just sitting there every 5 seconds blowing this hot air that rises up your fucking asses every 5 seconds.
It's the same point to what I discussed yesterday. Is, I don't know about you guys, but I would take criticism over compliments any day of the week, because that's going to mold you into the person that you are. Like, the only way you're going to get better is being told what you're shit at and why you're shit. So use that to your advantage.
And sorry, Sipu wants to talk quickly. Just one more thing I want to say, and it's like, and again, it just reiterates that if you think lying to someone is difficult, look what happens when you tell people the truth.
Exactly. Sib, shoot. What did you have to say there?
Yeah, to lie. Listen, so a good example, we're all part of the fitness industry. We've all competed. Why do we compete? We get judged. I've lost a few shows, and I won many as well. But afterwards, if you lose, they're like, listen, Albert, you've got to improve your glutes, you've got to improve your bicep, your back isn't strong enough. You take the criticism and you go back to the gym and you fucking work on it.
100%.
That's exactly the same thing in this situation. Like, take it for what it is and go change it. Don't fucking cry about it. Make an issue of it, and then people hate you even more.
Let's let Sibs chat for a bit, because I've also got quite a pertinent point, but I can see that he's frothing at the mouth to get his part in it. Chat to us, Sibs.
What's important to realize here, and I'm going to touch on a point Jack spoke about earlier, about someone attacking someone else in physicality and how telling that is in someone's character, right? Is that most of the people that were outed yesterday, not only were they outed, in my personal opinion, on good merit, what is also very telling is that most of them also got into the industry with the sense of wanting validation, right?
Yeah.
And as I said this yesterday, if your physique is the biggest thing you can offer the fitness industry, you better get out. Because what happens is your why is so attached to how you look that you base your importance or you base your value based on your physicality. So if someone had to take your physicality away, you as a person are gone. And that's why for me it did not make any sense, none whatsoever, when someone was cyberbullying back or whatever the case may be to Albert and saying that there's impressionable girls, what if someone takes their life? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, if someone, actually, the premise is this: if I'm in the fitness industry that by nature is judgmental because of how I look, and then if someone told me the fact that I don't have a good back or I need to work on this, and then I decide to take my life because of that, what am I doing in the fitness industry? You know, it's the industry, as Jack said, is not all, you know, kumbaya, let's hold hands and be a happy clappy. It's a space of wanting to improve yourself as a person and also being able to expose yourself to that critique. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually one of the reasons why Jack and I have such a good relationship is I don't go with, I'm so confident in my abilities and who I am in such a way that, you know, something important Jack told me, I think 4 or 5 years ago, is that I'm so good and so strong as a person that when I get on stage, it's a mere opportunity for the judge. I'm giving the judge an opportunity to see me and all the hard work that I've done. I'm not going on stage to seek validation. I'm going there to get critique.
The way that I say it is that I try to build the mental tenacity and the strength of conviction in you, that you have the mentality that you are merely affording or allowing the judges the opportunity to look at your hard work. And nothing they say or anyone else or the critique that you receive is capable of breaking you down as a person at that particular point.
Dude, and I love that.
Right.
I love that point that you raised, and why I love it so much is the fact that you arguably are one of, if not the best bodybuilder in South Africa at the moment, or that we've ever had. So that's such a cool point coming from you, especially because this is also something which kind of gets my back up a little bit. I mean, all these people who are complaining or have something to say that, oh, this is so negative, all they have to offer is they're fucking showing their tits in every single post. And, you know, I understand that, you know, we're in an industry where your physique sells and, you know, you're showcasing your physique and so on and so forth. But if that's all you have to offer, fuck off. Like, really?
Being a positive person has nothing to do with your physique, my guy. You know what I mean? That's what they're missing. It's your personality, it's your character, it's your morals, it's your principles, it's your values. That makes you a positive person. Because you're trying to tell me that your positivity is so attached to how you look that if your looks went away tomorrow morning, all of a sudden you're not going to be a positive person. That is worrying. That's telling about how weak your character is. But that's just
how do you know that's one of the 7 deadly sins, vanity? The Bible want to prove. The Bible want to prove.
Yeah, you know, Francois touched base on yesterday, Kyle, is the fact that although the two are synonymous, people mustn't confuse the two. Bodybuilding and fitness are synonymous with one another, but they're two very separate industries. And something that Francois spoke about yesterday, which I'll let him engage on, is the fact that people in the bodybuilding industry call each other out all the time. It's not a new thing. It's something that has happened since the inception of the sport, and I'll allow him to sort of elaborate on that basis. But just this week, we had Dexter Jackson and Sean Ray having a public spat with one another, which I thought was hugely amusing. There were tens of thousands of comments commensurately across the two profiles. The two were having out at one another. You know, as far as we know, they could have actually even orchestrated that on the slide just to create that drama and that content, because
100%.
That is what people want. They want raw, they want real, transparent, and honest. And they don't want this pseudo-altruistic, pseudo-motivational fucking bullshit all the time. Because these people who are advocating for mental health awareness and body positivity are not mentally well. They don't have good body positivity. They're not in a position to be preaching that. And that's exactly what Sibu Siso said. If someone, and our industry abounds with people that have terrible mental health issues. They have got terrible insecurity issues, and they should not be competing in a sport where they are subjectively judged and critiqued, let alone on a public social media forum where they are showcasing themselves to the world. And, again, there's this discussion about cyberbullying, and a good analogy that Francois uses, like, it's getting bullied, you're going to go down that corridor and you're going to get fucked up by that matric every time you go through it.
Yeah.
Surely if you're being bullied, every time you open your Instagram and you post a picture, first of all, you have an unfollow button. Then you have a block button. Then you can turn off comments. And last and most importantly, you can choose what you put out there. Okay, and if I'm going to put a picture of my physique out there 24/7, I mean, how much hate? I sit there and often I find I'm going onto Yolande's comments, or I'm going onto Sibu's comment thread because people are attacking him and they're trolls. It's part and parcel of social media, even more so of the industry.
Yeah.
If you've got mental health issues, you should be addressing that with a qualified mental health care practitioner, and you should be doing your very best to disassociate yourself with that negativity, because it is part and parcel of the industry. The two are symbiotic, and you are never, ever going to be able to remove yourself from it. Albert was just reaffirming that. He himself wasn't doing it. He was merely presenting a platform to reaffirm exactly what that is. So, French, maybe you want to carry on that part of it. That's what bodybuilding is, and calling people out, and so on and so forth.
I think that's such a cool topic for French to elaborate on. And as well, one thing I quickly just wanted to say, it's like the funniest thing ever. Like the easiest way to get under like a person's skin, whether it's bodybuilding or in fitness, is it can be something as small as, oh bro, you got small calves. What you say, bro? Huh? You wanna fight, bro? Like they take that shit so fucking serious. Like it makes no sense.
I lead with that shit. I made a post on Instagram yesterday about how shit my calves are. I'll give it to you so you can't attack me on it. Fuck you.
That's a reflection of your character.
I'll talk about my own mother. What are you going to do? You can't attack me. Yeah.
That's exactly it, Francis. Like I said in my post yesterday, people say, oh, Jack, why don't you care about when people say negative stuff about you? It's because I know who the fuck I am.
Absolutely.
I don't go out there and poke and post pseudo-altruistic good deeds for likes on Facebook and Instagram. I do that in person, in my own capacity. Makes me
talk
feel
about
good.
My dead father on social media. I'm immune to a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, just to touch on that bodybuilding thing. I mean, obviously, I'm from I don't want to say a different era, but I mean, the bodybuilding I remember is when you watch Pumping Iron. People often make these posts about Arnold. He's so great, They make these posts, but nobody really remembers what Arnold was as an athlete.
He was a dick.
He was a dick.
Yeah.
I came to the show and he asked me about what I was doing for my diet, and I deliberately gave him the wrong advice about eating potatoes and whatever to make him fat. He wanted some advice about posing. He told the guy to shout, hey, and the guy got booed off stage. His own best friend,
Yes.
Franco Colombo, who couldn't speak English at a show, wanted to know what the judges said, and he told Franco, they said we can walk off stage. Franco walked off stage. He stayed on pose and won. He fucked him over on stage. On stage. I mean, in the Sam documentary, the guy had his favorite jacket that he had, it was like a Charlie Brown scenario with that comfort jacket. He loved to wear that top. The guys took his jacket just to fuck with him. And I mean, but today, you can't receive criticism from somebody that he didn't say himself or that hurts your feelings. It's a bit difficult. And I mean, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I heard somebody say to their children or to their friend, harden the fuck up. Nobody says that. Nobody says harden the fuck up. It's always somebody said something foul to you, that person is wrong, irrespective of what that person says. Nobody is strong enough to just say, fuck, maybe I need to, introspect. Maybe I need to improve certain things. I have a niece who's 9 years old. Okay, love her to bits. I tease her. Like I would tease one of you. When I go to see my sister, I push her around, I tell her nasty jokes. Sometimes I even swear at her. Why? Not because I want to bully her, but I'm preparing her for what high school's going to be like. Life is not nice, okay? We don't need to shelter people. We need to protect people. And one of the ways we should protect one another is to insulate our children from certain things they're going to experience, like vaccine. A little bit of chafing is okay. If you can't handle it, you're not ready for the world, maybe. Social media is nice. Your friends are nice. The likes are nice. They're fake. The world doesn't work like that.
Your boss is going to be nice. And look, it's also not about a tough love philosophy. And when you use those examples of what Arnold did to Franco and what they did on Pumping Iron, you are not saying that is right or that is wrong. You are saying this is what happens in the industry.
Absolutely.
And if you don't like it, don't get involved in it.
Exactly what's going to
That's what I'm
happen.
saying.
Exactly what's going to happen after this gets published. People are going to have their opinions, and people are going to come on and go, "Fuck these guys! Fuck you! You all shit!" Like everyone's entitled to their opinion, and if you don't like it, fuck. Well, then that's your
Outside of
issue.
extreme motocross, this is probably one of the most hardcore lifestyles you could lead. People push their bodies to the absolute limits. We end up in hospitals, people collapse on stage and die. But all of a sudden, words hurt.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, the bottom line is every single person on the screen who's actually a bodybuilder of substance, the irony in people calling us D-grade bodybuilders when they allowed their 18th place participation trophies. Okay. It's so, but again, that's exactly what it is. It's like it's the delusion. You've got someone who has absolutely no business getting anywhere near a bodybuilding stage. Again, insulting Albert based purely on the way that he looks, because they've got such a peculiar perception of how they look. Some guy's like, oh yeah, there's some Albert can't even get 20 centimeter biceps. That's why he's saying this. But first of all, you don't have 20 centimeter quads. And I'm not taking exception with you. I'm just calling it like it is. Like It would be like me mocking Bill Gates about being poor.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense.
For sure, yeah.
It's absolutely, it's delusional. And it's a mental issue. The 5 people on the screen here used bodybuilding or started bodybuilding as a medium to overcome their bullying. They don't, we started bodybuilding because we are being bullied, and we used it as a tool to help cultivate our strengths of character. We didn't just one day wake up and dive headfirst into the industry, because it would have eaten us alive. It's exactly what Francois was saying. It's like, we use bodybuilding as a coping mechanism. We go to the gym, we train. When I'm training personally, and I've trained hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 7 years at STS, and that's irrefutable. Currently, as it stands, STS has anywhere in between 650 and 1,200 clients at any one stage. 20 trainers, obviously, depending on seasonal variances and things like that. There's a lot of people we train. And people come to me for motivation and inspiration. And when someone's at the bottom of a squat and they're doing their 1 rep max, I don't whisper in their ear and go, "Your crown's falling off, honey. Be the storm. Positivity. YOLO." I get up next to Sibu and I'm like, "You're a fucking worthless piece of shit if you don't fucking move this weight up." And what do we know? 100% of the time, Sibu gets through that because adversity builds way more champions. Adversity and rock bottom and the external hardships that we face as individuals build way more champions than pseudo-altruism and fakeness and privilege and niceness ever could. Am I wrong?
Not at all. Not at all. Albert, anything else?
When I'm training and I'm struggling under a set, even to this day, I'm 32 years old, I'm married, I'm struggling to have kids, as some bastions in the industry seem to make fun of and think is so funny. And when I'm doing a hard set or something like that, even to this day, I think of certain things that upset me that people had said to me when I was 15 or 16 years old. And I use it as fuel. I use that adversity to better myself, because there's no better success. There's no better revenge than my own inherent success. And that's how the very best bodybuilders are made. And I don't want to use some fucking dog shit analogy about, that's diamonds are made by the hardest external pressures, and so. But it's true. That's where the very best people sort of rise, or as as a lot of people know, the truism is that the cream always rises to the top. The cream always rises to the top, and that only comes from single-minded sacrifice, relentless discipline, and having learning how to cultivate the tools to deal with fucking hardship and adversity. And if you are not prepared to do that, the bodybuilding industry is not for you. The fitness industry is not for you. And social fucking media is not for you. And again, just to recant, I didn't take exception with any people. 99% of the people on Albert's form, I didn't know. I had no idea who that Alice Orion chick was. I still don't know. I don't care with respect to who that person is. I have no idea who that Beasley chick was, or if I got her name wrong. And I don't know her personally. She's welcome to take exception with me at any time, and I'll say to her, nothing I said was directed at you. But I was taking exception with a wide menagerie of fake people. And if the shoe fits, don't attack me. It's like someone making a Facebook status saying, fuck, I hate idiots. And I know I'm such a fucking idiot that I send them a message and I'm like, you're such a fucking bully. You're such a bully. How dare you say that? It's weak.
Oh, flip.
Here's a quick question for everyone here. So, on our fitness journeys, like I remember mine from the very start, how many negative comments, how many people hated you, how many people tried to break you down have you guys received? And what have you done with it? Like, we're all still in the fitness industry. We didn't okay, cool, I'm done. Let me pack up and fucking leave. Let me try something else now. Like, bro, we all
I think I'm the most qualified to answer that first, Albert. And I've built an entire social media persona and business around that. My entire life, arguably, from my career choice to the woman that I inadvertently married years and years down the line, is attributed to people bullying me and saying things that I didn't like, and hurtful things. And now in the social media space, you'll see that I embrace it. Because in my post yesterday, whether someone says something positive or someone says something negative to me, it's all inconsequential, because we are all our own judges, prisoners, and executioners. And the only thing that should matter to every single person on the screen and every single person watching this is whether we are honest with ourselves. And if I'm being honest, I have insecurities, idiosyncratic traits, and attributes that are 10,000 times worse than anyone even cares to know about, let alone what people can throw at me. And I am too busy doubling down and rectifying those as a person, in addition to doing good by people who I care for, to give a single fuck what some nobody in the industry thinks or says about me. I know who the fuck I am.
I think, for me as well, it's quite a cool topic to discuss because, I've been someone who is competed and done multiple shows year after year after year, to now, taking a step back and not giving my all to the industry like I did in the past. And, I haven't done a show in ages, but it's given me a cool perspective. Like, I've kind of taken a step back and I'm able to look at it from a different point of view. And it's the same, what I've seen so much is that, and I'm referring to a lot of these people who are commenting to you on the posts that were made on your story. They're just so like two-faced, like one minute they are advocating positivity and trying to make sure that everyone likes them, whereas then they'll have something bad to say behind your back or in a WhatsApp group. But then when you see them at a bodybuilding show, they'll come straight up to you and try and shake your hand. I've seen this multiple times with Jack in person, where someone will literally have the shittest things ever to say, but then they'll come straight up to you and shake your hand like nothing's wrong. What's up? How's it going, bro? Long time. That's an absolute joke. So,
and that's an issue that needs to be addressed, Kyle. It mustn't be swept under the rug. It needs to be exposed. People need to be real. They mustn't say on social media or behind other people's behind people's backs what they are not prepared to say to people's faces.
Yeah,
It's simple.
Agreed. And I think what the point I'm trying to get to as well is that it's kind of allowed me to, kind of not give a fuck what people think at the end of the day. Like, just be you. Like, not everyone is meant to like you. We all have different opinions. People watching this are going to have different opinions to what we're saying. Just be true to you, and, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
And a lot of people will say, if you don't care, then why are you talking about it and stuff like that? Because it's a talking point. We're engaging.
100%.
We're enjoying the discussion and the transference of opinions and ideas, because we are not fucking sheep. And we don't delete comments or statuses and things like that when people take exception with us. Okay, people are going to say a lot of stuff, and they're welcome to do that. They're welcome to engage with us. And also, because we are, coaches in the industry, this is our livelihood as well. We're on the online space. We're also trying to generate content and stuff like that. So yes, we do. Every single person, people mustn't, there mustn't be a misnomer that we don't care what people think, because that's nonsense. It's more appropriate to say that we do care, but exactly what Francois said earlier, it's in our characters defined by how we respond to that. That's the most important thing.
Sure.
Someone said, Jack, you're a piece of shit. Do I really care? I don't let it hurt me, but I take cognizance of it, and I use that as an opportunity for introspection. Is it something that I can change? Is it something that I need to take notice of? Is it imperative? Is it horseshit? Can I use it? Must I discard it? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
No, what's nice is that after this lockdown is over, considering the amount of attention and comments that certain people got, when we were all at our next bodybuilding show and the person's sitting down next to you and you get that, hello, how are you, long time? It's going to be nice for people to wonder, I wonder if this is the person that potentially sent that message about. Because nobody really knows, because nobody's honest, right? Because people all pretend like they like each other. Meanwhile, they're planning the worst possible death for you. These are the people fucking your boyfriends and girlfriends.
That's it. People must take exception with the gutless, spineless people in the industry for hiding behind anonymity, and not Albert.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate troll would be for Albert to print the lists of who said what. Can you imagine?
Yes.
People's
best friends.
An absolute fuck show.
Yes, sir.
All my very good friends got mentioned as well, and I promised everyone that it would stay anonymous, and I still haven't told anyone who said what. Like, most of the times, I don't even have time to actually go into the people's profiles to see who they are, because I don't know most of them. So to be honest, I've got everything still, but I don't care who said what. I shared responses, and I'm not telling anyone who said what about them. People try to ask me, listen, Albert, we're friends, please tell me this, that. No, sorry, it's anonymous, and I want to keep it that way so people actually engage in the future. Because a lot of people actually were scared to engage because what if it comes out? What if Albert's a real cunt and he actually goes to that person and tells him, listen, yes. So I just said, Jack's the worst trainer in SA, and now Jack finds out, okay, listen, your friend, she said
this is a cool this is a cool point. It just shows how many people actually messaged you to try and find out who said what. It just shows you how shallow hey?
So many, I'd say 85%.
See?
You know what's also important for you to mention, Albert, is how many of the comments that were made were so personal or atrocious that you elected not to post them?
So, probably 50%. As soon as I started posting where people actually commented the name and a reason, and the reasons got quite bad, people fucking jumped into that, completely. I don't like this person because he's got a 5 centimeter dick. It got personal. It's horrible. The shit people say about each other it's horrible. And I couldn't post all of it. I had to use my own integrity as well. If something's super fucking bad, I'm not gonna post it. There's limits. And I
That's
really
be-
didn't care if I was a cyber bully, I would have posted all of it.
That's exactly it, Albert, and that reiterates your integrity, right? And that's what we're saying. We're not saying what happened was right. We're saying what happened was unbelievably disgusting and it was ugly. But the bottom line is that it took the mask off the industry and revealed the industry for exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
All Albert did was act as an extension of that process, and in so doing became a proxy for people's butthurt.
Sibs, what you got to say that side? What you got to say that side?
Oh no! I'm just listening for now. It's very important for people to take home from this conversation certain very key points, and I think Jack mentioned a few. Number one, and without trying to be, funny and saying that bodybuilding should be exclusive or inclusive of certain people, but if you have issues that are pre-existing, sometimes in the sense that if you are somebody who's emotionally, unstable, or certain things that if they said about you, they're going to drive you to do certain things that you shouldn't do, then bodybuilding is not that. With the greatest respect, bodybuilding for me was a safe haven, but it wasn't a safe space. And I think people need to understand those two. It was a safe haven because I found myself in bodybuilding, but I never for 1 minute thought that bodybuilding was a safe space. I didn't get into the bodybuilding industry to try and get Carl to blow steam up my ass, and then when I can't get it from Carl, I jump from Carl and go to Jack, and when I can't get it from Jack, I go to Francois. It's not about that. It's about getting people around me who, if I look shit, will be like, bro, listen, you look like shit. And then we sit down, we make a plan. So how I'm not going to look like shit. That's what bodybuilding is about. You know what I mean? It's not a safe space, bro. And we've garnered a culture of people that as soon as someone says something they don't agree with, all of a sudden they're a bad person.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Just to cut a long story short, I'm going to mention something very quick. And the only reason I'm dropping his name is because after I spent so much time with him, I realized why certain people don't like him. But for me, it reiterated why I actually don't like him as a person. So I spent a bit of time with Nathan De Asher while I was in South Korea, and I'm sitting down with this guy, and he's giving...
Just explain to a lot of the people who think they're in the bodybuilding industry but don't know who Nathan De Asher is.
So Nathan De Asher is...
Sorry.
At that moment, no, 100%. I get it, bro. Nathan De Asher at the moment, arguably, is probably top 10 best bodybuilders in the world, right? And he won the show that I competed against last year in South Korea, okay? And the next, we actually have a shared moments on stage where I say congrats to him, and he actually congrats to me because he actually had me placing much higher when we spoke the next day, and how we thought our physiques are almost the same, whatever the case may be. And we spent about 2-3 hours the next morning having breakfast. Now, what I want to drive the points in this is that he's also one of the bodybuilders in the industry that has been in the crossfire of making comments. You know what I mean? Where, yes, I get the premise and the space of sportsmanship, but at the same time, if I get on stage and I know what I brought on stage and I know what was brought on stage, and then I stand against someone that I think with every ounce of me that I should have won, society now has told me that it's wrong for me to air those views because now it's not showing sportsmanship or I'm hurting someone else's feelings. Like, the comments he made while we're sitting there, I'm like, this is why I respect this guy, because the comments he made at breakfast, the same comments he'd go on social media and say them. He'll say ugly. He's like, dude, I didn't deserve second place here because the guy I was competing against had A, B, and C. Now, what I'm saying is that's what I think bodybuilding is about. I mean, as Jack mentioned and Francois mentioned, people had rivalries back in the day. You know what I mean? At bodybuilding conferences where people are like, dude, tomorrow I'm going to finish you on stage. Now imagine, like, Ronnie Coleman telling Jay Cutler, "Hey, boy, listen, tomorrow on stage, I'm gonna finish you." And then Jay Cutler going, "Oh my gosh, how can you say this about me? It's really gonna hurt my feelings. Now you've disturbed me for competition." No, bro. Jay Cutler was like, "Yeah, if you think you're gonna finish me."
Ronnie Coleman used to say, "Jack's been smoking that crack pipe again."
It's not just about and people, if you go and you read those old Flex magazine and muscular development interviews, it was a lot more than "I was going to beat you on stage." Sean Ray used to say unbelievably derogatory and inflammatory things about a plethora of people, and still does to this day. Look at Lee Priest. The two of them alone, the amount of hate that they cultivated because of what they did. And again, we're not saying that it's right.
Yeah.
We're not saying we condone it, but we're saying it is commensurate with the
respect them for the honesty, bro.
they want. And people who are sitting here and trying to dictate terms of what the industry should and shouldn't be are no position to, because they're nobodies in the industry. When you look like an emaciated 12-year-old Thai meth addict with glutes that look like orangutan's feet in a stocking, and you are lauding your 18th place participation trophy, you're in no fucking position to call Albert a D-list bodybuilder. Albert has more overall finishes than you've had participation trophies in your entire life. And again, it's the delusion. Albert's one of the industry's top bodybuilders. That's why he has so many sponsors. And again, something that I wanted to recap on is what Albert was saying, is that a lot of his sponsors were called, that's the textbook move and it's very commensurate with the far left of society. This call-out culture, this cancel culture. If someone says something we don't like, then we need to get them cancelled. Dave Chappelle experienced a lot of that recently. Should have just gone completely blank. Who's that short black comedian?
Kevin
Hart. Cancelled from the Oscars.
Kevin Hart.
Hey? Yeah, Kevin Hart. It's that if we don't like someone, then we need to cancel them. And it's like a psychological fascism.
Albert said something very nasty about me, so I'm gonna phone the people who give him his income, so I can have that taken away from him. Like the double standard.
Let's talk about that for a second. Huh?
Yeah,
a person
that's a reflection of that person's character.
Yeah. So you get roasted, you roast back, and then you go to the trouble of calling somebody sponsors so they can lose income and be excommunicated, basically. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But a few words are not okay.
But what's interesting, Francois, is that I'm a sponsored athlete. I've been a sponsored athlete for 7 years in the bodybuilding industry. I sponsor a lot of athletes, okay, and have done for a while, both in terms of my coaching and from a financial annuity perspective. And I'm consulted a lot with regards to who should be sponsored and who shouldn't be sponsored. And Albert spoke to me personally and said, "What do you think of Albert?" And I didn't know Albert. I did know Albert, but Albert will agree that we're more acquaintances than the best of friends. And Albert was selected because of his bad boy persona, and he was chosen for the mutant brand, which is completely commensurate with that. It's the "I don't give a fuck, this is who I am" bad boy image. And people, sponsors, and Albert's clients associate with him because of who he is, not who he pretends to be.
Yeah.
It would be like someone phoning Brad and saying, "I really don't like what Jack says on social media. He's very mean." Brad will say, "That's why I sponsor him. That's why he's a sponsored athlete with us."
Exactly.
So then you'd get people who'd be like, "Yo, Albert's like, it's probably all the steroids. Like, honestly, like, I'm probably the person in the fitness industry who's going to tell you what I'm taking and how much I'm taking of what." And
because
like,
you
you got to me with subjects that I'm honest about. Like, I'm honest about taking steroids. Anyone can ask me. And then just to go back to, I don't give a fuck. Like, I honestly don't give a fuck. Like, people has been knocking me about steroids all along. Like, I started steroids when I was 16 years old. Like, stupid, don't do that. But I did. And I ended up getting training tattooed on my hand as a joke. Like, I really don't give a fuck what people think. And just another thing to back to the other subject that we were on about the bodybuilders who actually like knock each other and they give each other the wrong advice and how we should handle it. We should also just remember that we are dealing with bikini girls, and to have that mindset for them is very, very difficult. Like you can't. That's like I don't even know what example to use, but it's difficult for them to understand. Listen, I got to be strong with the criticism I'm receiving. If they are girls,
no, I disagree. Albert, I'm sorry, bro. I'm going to have to stop you there. You know, I disagree. I've actually coached more women and more girls in the last 7 years than I have men. You know, my wife is one of the top bikini competitors and sponsored athletes and coaches in the industry, and she has almost entirely a female client base, and I coached her personally. And I think that a lot of these girls, a lot of these women have a mindset and a mental tenacity and a big match temperament that is better than all five of us combined.
Sure.
You know, you can't just take exception to, oh, shame, she's a poor little bikini girl. Yes, there's far more bitchiness and shit like that in the bikini industry. I don't dispute that for a second. But that doesn't give someone a get out of jail free card to behave badly or to take exception with someone else for calling them out for behaving badly. You don't get a pass because you wear heels and because your objective is to lose muscle and be a little bit softer on stage. Fuck that shit.
No, I agree. I like that.
Yeah, so Albert, another talking point is that, you know, people again taking exception with you and saying, oh, you know, he's taking steroids. That's just a reflection of how naive you are to think that you're in the industry and you're someone of relevance in the bodybuilding and fitness industry. And your go-to insult is to insult someone about their steroid usage. This is the bodybuilding industry, sweetheart.
Yeah.
And looking at your androgynous features and the fact that your balls pretty much slip out of your bikini in pictures, we all know that you're using steroids as well.
Exactly.
So this is a cool topic here. So you know, obviously, Albert, you were mentioning earlier a guy who was like kind of defending everyone in their posts and saying like he can't believe and he's so saddened by what's going on and he must take a stand for what's right. But this same individual is busy advertising anabolics in his profile on his Instagram. Like, again, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think it's just a cognitive dissonance, Kyle. It's selective outrage. You know, we must only take exception with something when we find that it's wrong.
You know what it is, Jack, and I'm saying this from a Christian perspective. It's when someone sins differently and all of a sudden the sin is different. You remember when someone called me out for the fact that I cuss a lot, and this guy is basically having premarital sex. And I'm like, so you're calling me out for saying the word fuck, but you're going home every night and emptying your balls in someone who's not your wife. So just because we sin differently doesn't make you a better sinner, my guy. So it's the same thing, bro. Like it's you're calling out this guy and saying, you know, stuff about steroids, but your profile is loaded about you condoning steroids. Get a life, man. Come on.
Yeah, double standard.
Yeah.
And also, I think we must consider Albert's demeanor on social media in general. I mean, he's not the most outwardly pointing athlete. Okay, he posts pics of him training, vaping, the cars, the training mostly. So he doesn't have, and not as an insult, Albert, he doesn't have many opinions on other people. One day, he posts a story and it's fucking bullying.
Yeah.
He posts a story to conduct a social experiment and to reveal the ugliness of the industry.
Yeah.
And, you know, if anything, he does have a very hardcore demeanor on social media. And I mentioned earlier, that's why his sponsors and affiliates have associated with him in the way that they have. But he's got a very introverted nature. People know Albert he's very quiet, he's very conceited, he keeps to himself, he's quiet, he keeps his head down, he only really concentrates about himself. But like anyone, he has an obligation not just to his sponsors, but also to help further his own career and business to create posts of substance. And that's exactly what he did.
100%. 100%.
So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think every single person here and every single person that found that as amusing as it was, and we all know that everyone found it hugely amusing, and you know, just to reiterate, I was called out there. People had horrible things to say about me. Sibu was called out there. There were countless people that were called out multiple times. You could see that some other people were called out, weren't actually really being called out. They were just being called out because more people wanted to stir the pot and watch how this was going to manifest and how it was going to materialize. And then you could also see that some people were just using this as an opportunity to hide behind anonymity and actually reveal their colors by being a dickhead to someone else. But all in all, it was very fascinating. You know, in closing, I just want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed yesterday. It was very, very revealing. And it's not necessarily because I condone or promote the denigration of other people unnecessarily, not at all. But I do feel that disingenuous, disloyal, and dishonest people do need to be called out in this industry. I feel that people that are selling other people's coaches that are selling other coaches' IP need to be called out. I feel charlatans in the industry need to be called out. And I feel the pseudo-altruism in the industry also needs to be revealed for what it is. And the sooner we can do that and we can acknowledge it and we can accept it as a community, the better it will be for all of us to make it better or double down. And that just basically comes from personal introspection. So I did a lot of personal introspection the last couple of days. And I know that a lot of people here did as well. I was deeply hurt that I was only mentioned, I think it was Albert posted 2 times that I was mentioned on that, because I take exception with a lot of disingenuous people in the industry that I know can't stand me. But, you know, Albert basically single-handedly leapfrogged me as the most hated person in the industry by far. But motherfucker, that's a title that you're not going to hold for much longer, and I'm coming for you, boy. I'm coming for that title hard.
Sweet, guys. No, thanks so much, everyone, for your time. I think this is a topic we can talk about for hours, so we'll try and keep it as short as possible. One thing I'm pretty sure each and every single one of you are looking forward to is the backlash that's going to happen after this gets published, and everyone's going to have their own opinion yet again.
I don't think there is, because, you know, one thing that I said to Francois is that although we've taken exception with a bunch of morons, you know, I generally don't care if people insult me. I am gonna take exception if someone says something hurtful that's going to hurt my wife, i.e. laughing or making a mockery of our current difficulties with falling pregnant.
Yeah.
I am going to have something to say, but I didn't want this medium to be a little circle jerk of hate, because that would basically just, you know, it would be the complete antithesis to what I've been saying all along and what I'm trying to call out. Yeah. I don't want this to be a circle jerk of hate. I wanted to have talking points. I wanted us to discuss our assertions and our opinions, and I wanted to do it as respectfully as possible. Obviously, I made mention of certain attributes that would obviously be attributed to certain people in the industry. And like I've always said, if that clown shoe fits, you lace that motherfucker up all the way to the circus.
People don't really like mentioning me on social media.
Hot air rises, guys. Hot air rises. And we need to be aware of flatulence in the